So one of the things I do when I'm going to spot weld is take an old drill bit and flatten down the edge, the point, and then when you go to spot weld, I'll have just a little bit of exposed metal to make contact. Otherwise, your MIG gun won't want to, the wire won't want to start an arc. Got the steps and rockers all welded in. New floor mounts, they're all welded in. So now I'm going to cut this floor out and bring the frame in and set it down on the frame so I can line up the new tunnel and build a new floor. Put the body back on the chassis so I can start mocking up the floor pan. Seems to fit pretty good. My body mounts line up pretty good. So now I got a straight shot across, and I can build a new cross member for the body to sit right on the frame and lower the seat locations. I think that's what the goal is anyway. But I don't know. It's a good feeling to have it back on the frame and sitting in place again. So you can keep going with fabrication work. It's coming along pretty good, I think. Got the floor cross member fabricated. Still has a little cleanup to do. I got the temporary support leveled out where the floor is going to be, and then I put the buck I had used to make the firewall, the 1/2-inch square tubing. I put that on and clamped it in place so that I can set up, a perimeter for where my floor's got to go. So I haven't gotten a lot done, but it was just time consuming building this cross member. It had to be done. So, and then I had to recheck everything, make sure everything was still gonna fit. So it's moving along, but a little slow. I'm making a flange to put the back part of the floor attached to the existing floor. So what I did was I went ahead and I cut a bunch of slots just about an inch away from the edge, and then I can start bending it back up with the flanger. So that way there, I can go back and cut the little slots, or re-weld the slots up, because I don't have a brake big enough to bend a piece like this. So that kind of works pretty good. It keeps it straight, and you can clean it up so it looks pretty decent. I laid out the areas to bead roll, so I'm going to bead roll across there, and then in the back here, and then this area is where the taper is, so that's going to have to be, I'll just do that plasma cut stitch and then have to go back and weld it after I bend them. I already did this so I can bend this edge up for a flange on the inside. It's pretty tempting to just like cut it and try to fit it, but then I started thinking, well, I can't bend this up if I need to bead roll that, because then it won't fit through the bead roller, and I can't do any. I should probably not do this stitch slice until I get the bead roll done. So I'll do that first, and then I'll go back and do the stitch cuts, and then I can bend the, this is going to be tricky because this is going to be bending down, this will be bending down, so you're going to have a weird corner here. So I'll just have to probably cut this whole edge and then bend it and then fabricate the corner. But yeah, no fancy tools here. So all right, so I ended up cutting that big sheet in half. It was just too big to put through the B-roller, and it actually works out. I can just join it at that seam right there. But yeah, B-rolling is not going good. I guess what happens if I do it like 3 or 4 times, just a little more at a time, because it's 16 gauge, so it's pretty heavy. So it's not only heavy to lift and manage, but it's heavy to try to get good straight beads on it. But it's gonna have to work. I'll just have to do a little cleanup on it and straighten it out and stuff. But so I'll end up making 4 pieces just for the flats and then the tunnel. I kind of screwed up here though, because I kind of forgot that I need a tunnel piece here, and now that bead is right where the tunnel is going to go, so I might have to cut and redo that piece. But then I'll know for the next side. So it's a little bit of a struggle to do this, but I'll get through it. The only way I could B-roll those larger pieces was to make some temporary cob job braces. Otherwise the sheets are too big and I just couldn't handle them by myself. They're too heavy and too thick. So I just kind of cob job welded some braces on, and that way there at least the metal will stay flat and it won't fall off and crinkle and make a big mess. So it is what it is, but it works. So before I got too far ahead with the floor and welded everything in and it was all permanent, I want to just double check everything. Seat is going to fit pretty good, much better, lower. I can go pretty far back. I put the pedals on just to check those again, and I got plenty of travel, no problem there. But I'm trying to figure out where I want the tunnel to be, because it's nice to be able to rest your foot against it. So even though I could go way over here and up and fill that gap in, I kind of want the tunnel to be, you know, right about here somewhere, so I can rest my foot against it, because it can be pretty tiring holding your foot up the whole time when you're driving. I stuck the AC box in there just to make sure one last time that it's not going to work, and it's just so big. You know, it's kind of jammed in there. You can't, you know, it's going to be in the way of the windshield wipers and the wiper motor, and the console comes down here, and it needs all that depth for the the screen and the stereo equipment and stuff. So I think that's just not going to work. Plus, you know, it hangs way down here. It looks terrible. So I guess I'm going to have to get an aftermarket box and just it'll go way up in there, no problem. There's plenty of room behind the glove box. I'm thinking a couple grills here, and now I don't need any of this, so I'll smooth that out and put a diffuser there. And same thing over there, just smooth that out and put a diffuser there. I don't really like it when, you know, they're run underneath the dash. I mean, it's okay, it works, but I'd rather not if I don't have to. And since I don't need any of these controls now, it's all going to be in the center console. I don't really need anything to be active in these areas, so that might work out better. So the floor is fitting pretty good. Like I said, I'm just trying to figure out how I want to do this tunnel. And then I don't know about the you know, toe board. I'll probably have a toe board separate from the actual firewall and floor. That'll be good for bracing anyway. So that's where I'm at. So I wanted to put a reveal piece on the firewall so it kind of curves in, but that's pretty difficult to make without any you know, real nice tools. So I just rolled this piece, or rolled it, I bent it in the vise, this piece of 1/2 inch, and then I tack welded it to this flange that I made that's going to butt up to the firewall that's already there, and it'll just trim it out and have a nice curve to the actual tunnel. So what I can do is take this, put it in the vise, and now I have something solid I can work it on. So now I can just go back around with the hammer and dolly, and you know, it's going to have some waves, and I'll have to shrink the outer flange area so it'll tighten that back up again. But a little bit of work, it'll make a nice transition piece that I can weld onto the firewall. So this was a little trickier. It's a bigger piece. I ended up taking a piece of 1-inch pipe and just tack welding it on each end, and then I was able to bang the edge over with a hammer, so I have a kind of a little bit of a radius there. And then I measured across the big end about 23 inches. That small end was about 14 inches, so I made 23 marks on this end and then 23 marks on that end, equally distant. And then as I was, you know, I started on this side with the piece laying flat on the table. I just kept working it around, bending it at the edge, lining up the hash marks on each end, and so it gave me a tapered piece. I mean, it's a little crude, but I can work with that, you know. But trying to, you know, no slip roller or anything. Kind of got to do what you got to do. So I think it came out all right. Making some pretty good progress on the floor. The panels are all made. The firewall is set in place, and I got some toe pieces made up. So they're fitting pretty good. Tunnel shape came out pretty good. Now I'm working on this transition piece to go from the firewall. So I took cardboard and made a template And then I use the tipping wheel on the bead roller to roll that edge. And then I'll use just a hammer and dolly to try to, because it really needs to be straight out where it meets the tunnel. And I'm not sure how I'm going to connect this to the actual firewall yet, but so far it's coming along. I have the floor fit up for the last time. I got some screws in there to hold everything down. I can start welding everything up now. The bolts are in the body mount holes and bolted down tight. The only tricky part is going to be that connection from the firewall to the tunnel. I'll have to get up in there and maybe tack weld it, and then I can finish it. Once I get on the rotisserie, it'll be a lot easier to get to. But I can rosette weld everything, all the other panels down once and for all, and see how it comes out. So I finished welding in the floor pans. Not super thrilled with how they came out, but need a little bit of cleanup. I ended up just lifting it up the front so I can get up underneath and rosette weld the body mounts onto the bottom of the floor. I kind of screwed up. I should have drilled holes in the floor pan. Then I could have just welded from above, but I had already put holes in all the body mount flanges, so it was too late. So there's still a lot of work to do, but I also got the console kind of roughly mounted because I needed to make it a big adjustment so it could go down in the front. So I had to cut away a lot of it so it would sit down. But the plastic console fits over the top of this piece and bolts on, so that worked out pretty good. I cut all that out. I'm gonna make that removable because you can't, it'd be really hard to get to the transmission mount bolts if I ever had to do a transmission swap or remove it. So, and I gotta wrap it up. There's another project coming in and I gotta work on over the winter. So I'm gonna be pretty close to finishing this for now, and I'll start it up next spring. So next thing is to set it back down and do a little bit of extra work on it and then roll it out of the shop. Well, today's the day. I'm going to move it out of the shop for the winter. I have another project coming in that I have to work on. So I'm kind of using this to store some stuff anyway because I don't have a lot of room in my shop. But it's ready to move out of here. I don't know, I just had to like put everything back in just to kind of need that incentive to keep going. So I got the seats kind of just set in there, the console, steering, and you know, you get to just check it out one last time. So pretty happy with how it's coming out. But all right, so that's it for spring, summer, and fall of 2023. I'll be bringing in a 64 Galaxie to finish up, so I'm planning on doing some videos on that, but I'll be back on this for sure once that car is out of here. So tune in later.